nobody expected drama at a memorial, not in a place where grief hung like mist and every face wore the same quiet sorrow. But there she was, Camilla gliding into the Braemar gathering like she'd missed the memo entirely. The Duchess of Kent had just passed. The royal family, the public, the entire country was in mourning. Black coats, somber hats, muted kilts. And into that sea of gray stepped a woman in bright teal with a feathered white hat that practically screamed for attention. It wasn't just the color. It wasn't even the oversized feather waving like a flag in the Scottish wind. It was the fact that Camilla, Queen Consort of England, chose this moment, this very public, very symbolic moment, to make it all about her. People noticed. Cameras clicked, social media erupted, but it wasn't until someone zoomed in on that hat that the real trouble began. The feather, that damn feather, it bore a subtle but deliberate design, something only those paying very close attention would catch, a swirling pattern that matched a known symbol of a fringe Scottish separatist group. Not just a fashion choice anymore, now it was a coded message, or at least that's how people took it. Was Camilla secretly siding with those who wanted to see the monarchy dissolved in Scotland? Was this nod to separatism deliberate? People didn't know what to believe, but the doubt spread like fire. King Charles looked like he'd aged 10 years by the end of the day. When Anne, his sister, leaned over during the ceremony and whispered, "This is a funeral, not a circus," he didn't even try to defend Camilla. Not really. He just mumbled something about Scottish tradition and went quiet. And Anne, she'd already made up her mind. Camilla had crossed a line, and if Charles wasn't going to do something about it, she would. Back at the palace, Charles finally asked the question everyone else had been thinking. Why the teal dress? Why that hat? Camilla didn't flinch. She just looked at him in the mirror as she pulled pins from her hair and said, "It's part of Braemar culture." I was showing respect, but Charles didn't buy it. Not fully. Not after that photo went viral. Not after people started digging up old connections. Because the man Camilla nodded to in the crowd wasn't just any guest. He was a known anti-monarchist MP with ties to the separatist movement. And that feather? Too similar to the group symbol to be coincidence. Anne, meanwhile, was already on the hunt. She had suspicions before the event. The outfit only confirmed them. So when she saw an envelope in Camilla's study bearing that MP's name, she didn't hesitate. She took it, read it, and what she found didn't exactly scream treason, but it came close. Talks of influence, of public sentiment, of shared values, not enough to bring charges, but enough to start a war behind closed doors. Anne confronted Camilla directly. No preamble, no fake smiles, just stormed into her room, slapped the letter on the table, and said, "Explain this." Camilla stuttered, denied, said it wasn't what it looked like. But then Charles walked in, saw the scene, saw the letter, and suddenly found himself at the center of a battle he never wanted to fight. Wife on one side, sister on the other, both demanding his trust, both holding secrets. And then came the twist that shifted everything. The feather. Not just a symbol, it was a gift. From that same NP, and hidden inside it, a micro-engraved code. Numbers. Anne had it scanned. It unlocked a classified document, a plan, a movement, a roadmap for Scottish secession. Now, this wasn't just about fashion anymore. This was about betrayal, or manipulation, or both. And the royal family was about to find itself in a storm it couldn't control. Anne didn't waste time. She handed the encrypted document to her most trusted intelligence contact, someone who had worked for decades in royal protection. If there was something deeper here, something orchestrated, he'd find it. In the meantime, she kept her movements quiet, watching Camilla like a hawk. Every interaction, every call, every whisper in the hallway, it all felt heavier now. And Camilla, she was slipping. The confidence that once clung to her like expensive perfume had started to fade. Then came the message. Anne's phone buzzed at midnight. No name, no sender, just a single sentence. "Stop digging or your secrets go public." She stared at the screen for a long time, the glow of the message lighting up her room like a silent alarm. It wasn't just a threat, it was a clue. Someone knew she was close, and more importantly, someone powerful enough to make it personal was watching. Anne wasn't scared. She was furious. She doubled down, placed a tracker on Camilla's car, called in a favor from a friend in telecom to get logs of who Camilla had been messaging. Every piece of data painted a picture. Camila wasn't acting alone. There were calls traced to encrypted numbers linked to government offices, lobby groups, even foreign correspondence. And all signs kept circling back to one place, a discreet little church on the outskirts of London. That's where Camila went one rainy morning, her usual motorcade replaced with an unmarked car. She didn't know Anne was behind her, tailing the route in a separate vehicle. The Queen consort entered through the side, slipping inside with barely a glance. Anne waited, watched. Then, as the clouds thickened overhead, a familiar face emerged from the rear door of the church. It was him, the Scottish MP, the same man from the Braemar photo, the man from the letter. This time, there was no crowd, no ceremony, just whispered words and furtive glances. Anne couldn't hear everything, but she had audio running through a hidden directional mic, and what she caught was more than enough. Camila. It worked. The media storm, the divide, it's exactly what you wanted. Anne P., and you've done well. I will let it simmer. The crown can't hold if the people stop believing in it. That was it. That was the game. Camila wasn't just an accidental participant in a fashion scandal. She was involved. Maybe not a mastermind, but certainly a collaborator. And this wasn't just about politics. This was about weakening the monarchy from the inside. Subtle gestures, public outrage, calculated moves. It was sabotage dressed in pearls and Chanel. Anne returned to Buckingham with the recording. She played it for Charles, who stood motionless as the voices echoed from her phone. His face was unreadable, but his silence said more than any words. When it ended, he sat down slowly, almost collapsing into the armchair near the fireplace. I trusted her, he whispered. After everything, I thought we were past this kind of thing. But the real blow came moments later. As they sat in stunned silence, the audio continued. One last voice joined the conversation. Deeper, more composed. It was only a few words, but Anne recognized it instantly. A senior advisor to the royal family. Someone with access. Someone on the inside. That changed everything. Camila wasn't just reckless, she was being used. The betrayal wasn't personal anymore, it was systemic. Someone close to the crown was pulling strings behind the scene. And if Anne didn't move fast, it wasn't just Camila's reputation that would fall. The entire royal foundation was at risk. The royal council chamber was quiet, almost reverent, as the family gathered for what Charles had called an urgent internal matter. The gravity in his voice had made it clear this wasn't a discussion, it was a reckoning. The air was thick with tension, the kind that clung to your skin and made silence feel deafening. No press, no staff, just the bloodline. Camilla arrived last. She wore no jewelry, no bright colors, no statement hat, just a plain black dress, her hair pulled back tightly. She looked smaller somehow, like the walls themselves were pressing in on her. Every seat was filled except for the one beside Charles. He didn't look at her when she sat. He just stared forward, hands clasped together on the polished mahogany table. Anne stood first. She placed a single envelope in front of Charles, then stepped back without a word. Inside were photos, transcripts, and the audio recording. All of it. The church meeting, the coated feather, the MP, and finally the voice of the advisor, a man trusted with sensitive state matters now exposed as part of a quiet insurrection. Charles didn't open the envelope. He didn't need to. He already knew what was inside. Camila, he said softly, is there anything you want to say before I read this aloud? She didn't respond at first, just looked at him with hollow eyes. Then slowly she stood. I never wanted to betray anyone, she began. Her voice was quiet, shaking under the weight of the moment. I wanted to feel like I mattered. I wanted to be more than a shadow behind you, more than the second choice everyone whispers about. She paused, her throat tightening. I believed him, the MP. He said if I could make the people feel heard, if I could show a gesture, just one, it would help, that it would soften things. I didn't realize I was being manipulated until it was too late, and by then I was in too deep to undo it. Anne folded her arms. You thought that hat would unify people? It was never just about the hat, Camila snapped, then caught herself. It was about being seen. I was desperate to be seen. Charles closed his eyes. For a long moment, no one spoke. Then he opened the envelope. Slowly, deliberately, he laid the photos out one by one like cards on a table. The room watched in frozen silence. He turned to Camila. "You'll remain queen consort," he said. "But from this point forward, you will have no political involvement, no unsupervised meetings. Every public appearance will be vetted, and every decision, no matter how small, will pass through this council." His voice never rose, but it carried a cold finality that left no room for doubt. "This is not punishment," he added. "It's protection. For you, for me, and for the monarchy." Camilla didn't protest. She only nodded, her shoulders sagging as if the words had knocked the last bit of air from her lungs. But Anne wasn't done. She turned to the others. "This cannot happen again. Someone from inside this family's advisory circle betrayed us, and until we find out who gave that MP access, no one is above scrutiny." The room murmured in agreement. Even those who had once backed Camila now shifted uncomfortably in their seats. Later that evening, a single image emerged from the palace. A photo of Camila and Anne side by side, laying a wreath beneath the Duchess of Kent's portrait, their expressions solemn, their posture united. No press conference, no caption, just a photo. And somehow that was enough. The public didn't forgive, but they paused, watched, waited. Camila had made her move. Now the nation would see what she did next.